Help! My strikes are disappearing. In this video, you're going to learn how to read the data box. And we're going to be talking about consider the signal only after a losing streak. Now, if you've got it set on -1, you're going to see every single signal that comes out. Currently on this setup, over the past 37 trades, there has been 62% winners, 37% losers, 5 wins in a row, 3 losses in a row. But we're going to change it, and it's going to make some of the strikes disappear. Now, the first thing you need to realize is that each one of these strikes is independent to itself. If we're looking at the ATM strike, we see it's got 3 losses in a row. But if we look at this yellow ITM strike, we see that it's only got 2 losses in a row. And if we look at this OTM strike down here, it's got 7 losses in a row. So if I were to go in here, and I would change this to 1, because I want to only see them after 1 loss in a row. I'm going to take a picture of this one just for reference. I'm going to click OK. Now, some of the strikes disappear. Do you see that? And we put in 1 loss in a row. So the original said, on the ATM strike, 3 losses in a row. Now it's only got 2 losses in a row because we're skipping, 1 loss. If you go up here to the ITM, it did have 2 losses in a row. Now it's got 1 loss in a row. And the OTM had 7. Now it has 6. The strike levels up here do not show for the simple fact there was no 1 loss in a row for the 4th level ITM up here. Because if we scroll back and we see this one, this is technically a winning trade on the 4th level ITM. However, it did not print because we're waiting for 1 loss in a row before it prints. So we're going to have to scroll way back here and find that loss and then look at the next one. We'll find it here shortly. Let me scroll back. After scrolling back, we found it right here. This is here it gave a signal and it gave a loss right here. The price closed down here. That is 1 loss in a row. So since this one was a loss, and we're only talking about this ITM level 1 up here, we're not talking about any of the others. Since this was a loss, the very next one is going to print, and this was a win. Now you can't always get a strike, on the 4th level. I'm just using it as an example. So this right here is a valid signal, and this one technically won. So going back to our original question, you don't see a yellow line or a yellow strike because that wasn't a valid signal for that strike level. There was no 1 loss in a row before the signal, so it's not going to print. Now if we look at the 3rd level strike and the 2nd level strike, those didn't print either. This 1st level strike did, right here. You see right here. This one printed because there was 1 loss in a row before this one. So let's scroll back and look. Let's see. It's at 2100. Okay, this signal here, it is 1 loss in, there is a loss here on this signal. It didn't print because we're waiting until 1 loss in a row before we get one. Such as we waited for 1 loss in a row and then it printed this level 1 ITM right here. But if there's not a valid signal, it's still counting. It's just not going to print. Now let's go look at the 4th level OTM here. Let's start over. Let's put it at -1 because we don't want to see any losses. Okay, so if we do that, now everything prints normally. You can see every signal. You can see all the win rates, loss rates, whatever. Okay, we're going on the fourth level OTM. Now it's got 7 losses in a row. 7. So if we were to go in here, we were to put in -1, it's only going to count 1 loss in a row, and then it's going to print again down here. So let's go in there and do that. Right now we've got a 21% probability. Not very good, but just go with me for a second here. Probability didn't change very much. Hang on a second. That's why it didn't change very much, because I didn't change it. There we go. Now we've got a 25% probability, and it's only got 6 losses in a row. Now, this did print, so the previous one was a loser. Okay, the previous one was a loser, so this did print. Let's scroll back, and this one was a loser. So since it was a loser, this one is going to print. If you don't see a strike, that means there was no valid signal for it at that time. Now let's go in here and look at the ATM. We're going to go in here, and again, we're going to put in -1. Or, we're going to put in +1. We want to see what happens after 1 loss in a row. After one loss happens. Now we've got two losses in a row. Now, right here, this was a winning trade. It's got a 64% probability of a win, 35% probability of a loss. But this at the money line right here was the signal. Now, if we scroll back, we're going to see that there was no signal right there. So I'm assuming the one previously to that was an ATM win. We'll see in a second. Yep, see, it was an ATM win. And since it was a win, it did not print a signal right there. However, it's still counting because this one was a loss, so it printed the next signal, which was a win. If you didn't understand that, go back and watch it again. I'll go back and do it again. This one was a win. Since we're waiting on a loss for it to print, the next one was a loss. It did not print because the previous one was a win. So that one was a loss. Since that one was a loss, the next one's going to print, such as right here, and it was a win. Okay, if I'm looking at this one right here, this one printed right here. So I know that the previous 2 were losses. The previous 2 ATM signals were losses. Let's go look. There's a loss right there. And there is a loss right there. So the previous 2 were losses. So I know that if it prints, the previous 2 were losses. Now let's look at this section. If we put this as -1, we don't want to see any losses in a row, just we want to see every single trade. All of these numbers are going to be the same. If we put in any type of consecutive loss, such as 1, these numbers are going to change because each strike is independent. We may have had, 28 trades because we had one. We're only looking for 1 loss in a row. We only had 28 trades. However, up here on the ITM, we had 4 because most of those end in a winner. Now, if we put 6 in here, because we're looking at 6 losses in a row, and press enter. Oh, sorry, hang on. What's the number? 7. 7 losses in a row. We will see a 100% win rate on 1 trade. I mean, you can't trade that, but the smaller that but you see, none of these had any trades because we're looking for 6 losses in a row. None of these had 6 losses in a row. Only this one and this one did. We put in, let's say 2. Then all of them had at least 2 losses in a row. and the next one that prints, on each particular level. Let me find it here. They're all independent, so not all of them are going to print, because whenever you're putting in losses in a row, you have to remember it's for each particular level, and it will calculate every one of them. If you have any difficulty, look us up in the chat room or go through the user manual, and have a great day.